Hello friends, how are you? Myself Virendra Kumar and I welcome you all on my YouTube channel Hirak IAS. In this video lecture, we will study about the very important topic that is nationally and internationally recognized, and that topic is about the future gold, that is fresh water. So firstly, we'll learn about what is the fresh water, what are the kinds of fresh water, what are the resources of fresh water. So let's proceed for the video lecture. हम पहले ये समझेंगे कि फ्रेश वाटर क्या है. एज पर द definition of Wikipedia, fresh water is any naturally occurring liquid. That is, it is any naturally occurring liquid or frozen water containing low concentration of dissolved salts and total dissolved solids. So it is a naturally occurring liquid or frozen water. Both terms are included in this fresh water. It may be liquid or in the frozen form. But it should be free from or having the low concentration of dissolved salts and other total dissolved solids. Although the term specifically excludes seawater and brackish water. What does it mean? It means that under the fresh water, seawater and brackish water don't come. It does include non-salty mineral-rich waters such as chalybeate springs. So in this definition, non-salty mineral-rich water comes, right? Fresh water may encompass what? Frozen, melt water in form of ice sheets, ice caps, glaciers, snowfields, and ice bogs. Natural precipitations like rainfall, snowfall, hail, sleet, graupel, surface runoffs that form inlet bodies of water such as wetlands, ponds, lakes, rivers, streams, as well as groundwater contained in the form of aquifers, subterranean rivers and lakes. So friends, this is the definition of fresh water. It includes liquid or frozen water. It also includes wetland water, ponds, lakes, rivers, streams, groundwater that comes in the form of aquifers, subterranean rivers and lakes. Right? Friends, water is critical to the survival of all living organisms, whether it is plants or animals or we itself. Many organisms can thrive on the salt water, but the great majority of vascular plants and most insects, amphibians, reptiles, mammals and birds need fresh water to survive. And we also need fresh water, potable water to survive. Fresh water is not always potable water. Potable water is something that you fill in a pot and it is ready to drink directly by the humans. That is water safe to drink by humans. Much of the earth's fresh water is to a substantial degree unsuitable for human consumption without some proper treatment. That means Earth's fresh water, all of the fresh water is not suitable for the human consumption unless it is treated with some technique. Fresh water can easily become polluted by human activities or due to naturally erosion processes. Fresh water makes up less than 3% of the world's water resources, and just 1% of that is readily available. Just 3% of it is extracted for human consumption. Friends, as you know that 2/3 portion of the earth's surface is filled with the water. In spite of that, not total whole of the water is available to us. It is in the different forms, right? So further, fresh water is renewable and variable. You might have learnt about the hydrological cycle. Hydrological cycle. With this cycle, our water becomes renewable and it is variable, but finite natural resource. It is a natural resource and it is finite. That means if you waste the water, it doesn't come directly with the same quantity. Fresh water is replenished through the process of the natural water cycle, what I call hydrological cycle, in which water from seas, lakes, forests, land, rivers and reservoirs evaporates and forms clouds, and that clouds in return inlet as a precipitation in different forms. It may be in the form of rainfall, it may be in the form of the ice sheets, and it may be in the form of the slits. Locally, however, if more fresh water is consumed through human activities than is naturally restored, this may result in the reduced fresh water. That means if someone is consuming more fresh water, then it may be like that it is reduced to some quantity, right? And there may be the water scarcity problem from surface and underground sources and can cause serious damage to surroundings. Friends, I am discussing some basics of the fresh water. Afterwards, I will discuss the national and international issue related to the fresh water and why this fresh water is going to be the future goal for us. Further, you can see water pollution also reduces the availability of the fresh water. Where available water resources are scarce, humans have developed technology like desalination, wastewater recycling to stretch the available supply further. You know that water can be polluted, but due to that, the availability of the fresh water reduces, right? As a human being, we have developed the advanced technology to make the saline water fresh, right? And that adds to the fresh water, right? However, given the high cost and especially for desalination energy requirements, those remain mostly niche applications. A non-sustainable alternative is using so-called fossil water from underground aquifers. So what we do that we are pumping out the groundwater regularly and we are consuming the groundwater and making the water less available for our future generations. As some of those aquifers formed hundreds of thousands or even millions of years ago when local climates were better, right, and are not appreciably replenished under the current climatic conditions. At least compared to the drawdown, these aquifers form essentially non-renewable resources comparable to peat or lignite. So that means what we are consuming in the form of groundwater by pumping the water from the ground is not going to be replenished very frequently. It takes time, and that times is as on the scale of million of years. So we should judiciously use the groundwater. And here it is mentioned that non-renewable resources. It is a non-renewable compared to peat or lignite. This is the form of coal, peat or lignite, which are found under the ground in forms in mines, which are also continuously found in the current era, but orders of magnitude slower than they are mined. That means we are mining the coals, lignites, peats, but we are consuming the water more in more quantity, more frequently. Now, what is the definition, numerical definition? And means if fresh water can be defined as a water with less than 500 ppm of dissolved salts. That means any water which have 500 ppm salts comes under the freshwater category. But other resources gives different definition also. They may ask for 1000 ppm and some more. So freshwater habitats are classified as either lentic or groundwater. Lentic waters, which are still waters including ponds, lakes, swamps and meres. Lotic, which are running water systems, and groundwater, which flow in the rocks and aquifers. But there is one zone also in between these two, which bridges between the groundwater and lotic system. Hyporheic zone. What does it mean? It underlies many larger rivers and contain substantially more water than is seen in the open channel. So friends, this was the basics about the fresh water and its availability and its kind. Now we will discuss about the international and national demand of the fresh water. Why we are striving for the fresh water, just like minerals and oils. Just like we are making the reserves of the oils, petroleums. We, the people, nationally and internationally, trying to make the reserves of the fresh water for future generation or future use. Let's talk about this. This article by Archana Reddy, which talks about the freshwater quest, the likely new gold hunt. So I will discuss about this article, why it is so important to reserve fresh water for our future use. So one would never imagine that huge volumes of fresh water exist under the saline ocean. So you might be thinking that the fresh water is found in only in the rivers, ponds, lakes, groundwater, and so on, glaciers, wetlands, but it is also found under the ocean, deep ocean, saline ocean. In the 1960s, says a media report, the US Geological Survey drilled boreholes off the New Jersey coast and unexpectedly struck fresh water. That means this information was found itself in 1960 by the US Geological Survey by doing the borehole, and they got the fresh water. Similarly, with the time, a team of scientists from Vietnam and even in other countries have discovered underwater sources of fresh water. Means underwater sources of fresh water. वाटर के नीचे दूसरा फ्रेश वाटर हमें अवेलेबल है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ए रिवर अंडर द सी was discovered at the bottom of the Black Sea. This river appears to be over 100 feet deep and has a flow rate of about 4 miles per hour. This river that was found by the scientists below the Black Sea at the depth of 100 feet, and it has a good flow rate. about 22,000 cubic meters of water passes through this particular channel. It would count among one of the largest rivers in the world when compared to land-based rivers. So you can compare this underwater river, underwater fresh water reserves in the form of the river is more than the land river. Say media links, this makes one thing certain. What? There is scientific evidence of rivers under the sea. So by the scientific research, it has been proved that rivers lie beneath the sea. Statistics show that the total volume of water on earth is estimated at 1.386 billion cubic kilometer, where 97.5% is salt water and 2.5% is only the fresh water. Right? So on the earth, total volume of the water on earth is this much, 1.386 billion cubic kilometer, and of that much volume 97.5% is the salty water and only 2.5% is the fresh water. You can imagine, out of this fresh water only 2.5%, and out of this 2.5% only 0.3% is in liquid form on the surface, which means that the rest of the fresh water is underground, including on or under this ocean bed. So this much water is only in the form of the liquid. That okay, considering that fresh water is a depleting resource, countries will begin exploring for and exploiting fresh water from above or under their ocean bed. Since fresh water is depleting by day, one or another country is trying to find the reservoirs or sources of fresh water above the ocean or below the ocean bed within their maritime zone. Eventually, countries will expand exploration beyond their EEE, exclusive economic zone, in what is commonly known as the area. That means countries trying to explore beyond their legitimate area, which is covered under Part 11 of the United Nations Laws of the Sea Convention 1982. So here the convention is very important, UNCLOS 1982. Under this law, that is United Nations Laws of the Sea Convention, the area under UNCLOS is defined as the seabed and ocean floor and subsoil thereof beyond the limits of national jurisdiction, and is referred to as the common heritage of the mankind. So under this law, it has already been written that ocean floor, seabed, subsoil beyond the limits of the national jurisdiction. That means no country has the right to claim that water is there on. That water beyond this is the mankind water, for the mankind. Anyone can access that. Right? This means that it is available for everyone's use and benefit, keeping in mind the future generations. So this law is very important, which deals about the freedom of access of fresh water by anyone, any generation, any country. There is no limitation for that. The law of the sea. Although UNCLOS arrays most of the internationally accepted law on this subject, customary international law continue to remain an important source of the law of the sea, while UNCLOS is known as a single comprehensive text covering the constitution and governance of the ocean. it is interesting to know that the Convention on the Territorial Sea and Contiguous Zone, the Convention on the High Seas, the Convention on the Fishing and Conservation of Living Resources of the High Seas, and Convention on the Continental Shelf, that is Geneva Convention on the Law of the Sea 1958, cover most of the issues as UNCLOS, and these Geneva Conventions are mostly platformed over customary international law. To complicate matters further, Article 311 of UNCLOS states that this convention shall prevail as between state parties over the Geneva Convention on the Law of the Sea. That means this law can prevail over any present law like Geneva Conventions 1958, right? Hence, not only is UNCLOS not applicable to these non-signatory states, but also these countries do not recognize the doctrine of exclusive economic zone or the area. You know that US is a signatory of the Geneva Convention and not the UNCLOS, right? So, the exploration and exploitation of the area under UNCLOS is limited to the term resources, which is defined. Exploration and exploitation of the area under UNCLOS is limited to the term resources, which is defined as solid, liquid or gaseous mineral resources in situ in the area at or beneath the seabed, including polymetallic nodules, and resources when recovered from the area are referred to as the minerals. That means this kind of resources is present in that area, that means exclusive economic zone, or beneath the seabed, including polymetallic nodules, and resources when recovered from the area are referred to as minerals. So friends, under the UNCLOS, exploration and exploitation of the area is limited to the term resources. जो रिसोर्सेज है उसी को ये डील करता है, और रिसोर्सेज का डेफिनेशन क्या है UNCLOS के अंतर्गत? इट इज एनी काइंड ऑफ सॉलिड, ऑल सॉलिड्स, लिक्विड और गैसियस मिनरल रिसोर्सेज in situ in the area at or beneath the sea, including polymetallic nodules and resources when recovered from the area are referred to as minerals. तो यदि रिसोर्सेज इस एरिया मिलता है तो उसको मिनरल कहते हैं. तो केस ये बनता है कि क्या जो है फ्रेश वाटर भी मिनरल है? इफ दिस बी द केस, डज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ द टर्म मिनरल्स कवर फ्रेश वाटर? सो हमने अभी तक देखा जो है हमारा यूएस है, यूएस जो है नॉन सिग्नेटरी टू द UNCLOS है और जेनेवा कन्वेंशन का सिग्नेटरी है, जिस पर ये लागू नहीं होता है, क्योंकि ये मैटर को ये आर्टिकल 311 क्या करता है, कॉम्प्लिकेट कर रहा है. कैसे? दिस कन्वेंशन शैल प्रिवेल एज बिटवीन स्टेट पार्टीज ओवर द जेनेवा कन्वेंशंस. हेंस नॉट ओनली इज UNCLOS नॉट एप्लीकेबल टू दोज नॉन सिग्नेटरी स्टेट्स, but also these countries do not recognize the doctrine of exclusive because they have not signed the UNCLOS. So, for example, US has not signed the UNCLOS and it is a signatory of the Geneva Convention. Further, the International Seabed Authority, referred to as the authority here, is empowered under UNCLOS. What? International Seabed Authority is empowered under UNCLOS to administer and control the activities in the area, that is EEE. Consequently, exploration of all minerals from the area is required to be in accordance with the rules and regulations and procedure laid down by the authority. That means the International Seabed Authority. If state parties to UNCLOS are regulated by the authorities, who regulates state parties to the Geneva Convention, especially in activities concerning mining and exploratory activities in the area. So friends, now we'll discuss about the zone of exploration. As evident from the current events, the next wars are expected to be fought over water and expansion of it. Here it is point to be noted that the जो सिचुएशन चल रही है इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे, उसमें ये कतई जो है नकारा नहीं जा सकता है कि द नेक्स्ट वार्स मे बी फॉर द वाटर, फ्रेश वाटर एंड इट्स एक्सपेंशन, दैट मीन्स हैविंग इट्स रिजर्व्स इन द country's position. Given that in the years to come, fresh water will become a very scarce and an expensive commodity, the area will qualify as a potential zone for freshwater exploration and extraction. So, in the coming years, this fresh water will be a expensive commodity for the human being, and for that the nation can fight for. On the India level, you might have learnt about the issues, the fight between the states for the river boundaries, for the river's water. So you can see that locally we are fighting for the river water. What if the international bodies, international states starts fighting for the fresh water and the reserves? Just as oil wells are explored and kept for future use, fresh water wells may be identified and kept for future use. Right? In the lacuna of specific legislation and the terminologies governing and controlling the advancement of resource beyond national jurisdiction, such as freshwater, integrated with the multiple legislations governing the law of the sea, the area will once again attract controversy. Given that a large international community is diligently working towards sustainable development goals, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we are working for that, and activities beyond in national jurisdiction, arriving at an amicable, non-controversial legislative text addressing various lacunae in the laws of the sea, especially exploratory activities concerning fresh water from the area, are to be the next logical milestone. Right? So it may be possible that international conferences may be held for the fresh water too. In this, India can take the lead role. This would be the area which would truly benefit mankind, and rather than spending gallons of money looking for water and proposing plans for human settlement on Mars and the Moon. So we, from the last few decades, trying to find the water on the other celestial bodies like Moon and Mars. So through this article it has been emphasized that if we on the earth itself try to find the good freshwater reservoir or resources, then that will be better and will be economical. So friends, this was the thing that I wanted to discuss through this video lecture. I hope that you might like this video. If you like this, please press the like button and share this with your friends and family members. And if you are new to this channel, please subscribe the Hirak IS YouTube channel. And thank you. Bye bye.